Hello again. Uh, for all you people who want to give joy to others. I really appreciate that. One of the things we want to do is I'm going to look a little bit deeper than we did in the workshop on the idea of overwhelm. Now, you did get to see the illustration of how people get overwhelmed. You got to see it if you were there in person. It didn't come out on the video. So I want to actually talk about it a little bit on how we overwhelm people, how we can keep from overwhelming people. So I'm going to share my screen, and the screen will be a doc file that I have that gives more information. Uh, this particular information, if you, I have this on Canvas, but also it comes from Belonging Workshop workbook by Edgar Hurry and Kim Wilder. Uh, and It's from 2010, and you can look that up if you wish. Um, but overwhelm, knowing when to stop. This is so important because I think a lot of us don't necessarily know when to stop when we're talking and talking and talking, or we're doing something that's causing people just driving them crazy. Uh, Definition, first of all, is overwhelming someone can be defined as something done with feelings or opinions emotionally, verbally, or physically. It amounts to controlling the other person. It is what is being done when you wish someone would back off. And so if you have the feelings of the RCs that when your RCs are being turned off, such that you want to get away from this situation, it's probably because you're being overwhelmed, or could be because you're being overwhelmed. Overwhelming others with our emotions and opinions does not give them freedom. It's a form of abuse. Now, that's very strong. Uh, but we're actually abusing them in some way because we're trying to force our ideas upon them. And we may not even know that they know that, or that we may not even know we're doing that. But Jesus doesn't do this. He never abused or overwhelmed anyone. Jesus gives freedom to chart our own course and make our own choices, even if they're wrong. He respects our choices and does not impose his will upon us. And you can look up 1 Peter 2:3 if you wish, which says, when they hurled insults at him, he did not retaliate. When he suffered, he did not make threats. Instead, he entrusted himself to the one who judges justly. And so Jesus was being overwhelmed by all these things that were going on, but he didn't retaliate. Uh, they didn't know when to stop, but because he was mature, he was able to entrust himself to the Father. Um, so let's look at some of these signs of overwhelming others. It's important to see not just when you feel overwhelmed, but when you're overwhelming someone else. This is all about bringing joy to people. And you don't bring joy to people if they feel abused or they feel trapped or whatever they feel that might be overwhelming. So, sign of overwhelming others. Uh, Watch their body language. Listen to their feelings. Listen, just watch them, see what's going on. It can be a sign of this can be freezing. They freeze up. Small changes in facial expression or body position, eyes widen or squint or close. And we saw some of this when we did the demo. No eye contact. They look away. They're looking at something else. They look at their watch. All kinds of things that they're maybe a blank expression, just like they're there, but they're not really there. Leaning back or backing up. In other words, they're trying to get some space. Maybe they're trying to feel like uh, uh, they want to help you understand they're not leaving you, but they just can't stand it. They're getting back. Or it could be tears. It's important to note that not all things are necessarily because of overwhelm. Tears can be overwhelmed, but it can also be just because they have feelings that are coming out. So it doesn't necessarily mean overwhelmed, but that can be. Muscles tension in the eyebrow or nose or body, so their facial expression changes. And there's other things you can probably figure out some of the things that you might see. Uh, One of the things that I just did in our Bible talk, we talked about uh, the idea of face and what faces do and how you can see things on faces, and faces project things. And so um, it's interesting that the word panim is the word in Hebrew for face, and you can find that all. It means countenance in King James version, as how it's translated. But the countenance is very important to watch for because you can tell a lot of things that are going on in the heart and the feelings of the other person. And if we're going to show empathy and we're going to try to do our check-in, even we need to be able to do that this as well, because we're that will help us know what kind of gentle, curious questions we're asking. We may see something on someone's face. We may see something or hear something they said that we feel an emotion attached to it. And so our emotions, unless you have a poker face on, uh, is are revealed in our faces. And even a poker face is is it has feelings behind it. Signs of overwhelming you. So look for overwhelming other people so you know when to stop. Okay, I'm doing something that's causing them to be overwhelmed. So I got to stop here. Maybe I need to ask them about it or whatever. But also signs of overwhelming you. Become aware of when you're being overwhelmed. Uh, when you're in a discussion with somebody, you're over talking them, or you're talking before thinking. Uh, it could be a sign of overwhelm. You may have knots tightening in your stomach, shoulders, face, or hands. You just can't stand the situations getting to you. You may find yourself backing up or leaning away. You may find yourself not wanting to look at them and breaking eye contact, or feeling numb, going blank, or freezing, leaning forward or crowding them. Sometimes people get aggressive when they feel like they're overwhelmed. Um, Feeling like I just want this to stop. This is again is and your RCs, it's connected. Your RCs are beginning to be turned off, or maybe they are turned off. You feel that turn off, and that's a sign that you may be getting overwhelmed. Urge to yell, hit, grab, or push, just to get them out of your face, and maybe any other things. Now it's important to become aware of that. And it's also it's so important for if you're the one overwhelming someone to know when to stop. Knowing when to stop feels good to us and to others. It gives people relief, and it gives you relief. Uh, you can only handle so much. You only have so much capacity. When that capacity is full, something has to change because you just can't take any more in, or you can't take any more of what's going on. And so we got to be able to respect that in people, and they need to respect it in you as well. We grow in our capacities. We'll be able to handle more later on if we're allowed to grow. But if we push people beyond what they're able to bear, uh, it's just like God says, He does not give us more than they're able to bear. He knows our capacity. We need to know each other's capacity. When we know when to stop, we create space for others to freely belong with us. In other words, they can be with us. The idea of being glad to be with them. When we know how to stop, then they can be glad to be with us. Overwhelming others with our feelings and opinions does not give them this freedom and creates distance instead of feeling of belonging. Sometimes you find this when people have their opinions so strongly. For instance, uh, lots of times in political discussions and stuff, it's so strong, and so you just overwhelm people, and the relationships begin to deteriorate. Not knowing when to stop is a root cause. This is very interesting statement. It says not knowing when to stop is a root cause of abusive and controlling use of power in relationships and in leadership. So we need to take this on and look at ourselves. See, do we overwhelm people? Are we abusing them? Are we controlling them? It is all about knowing when to stop and not to go too far with others. What does it feel like when you go too far with others? That's a good question to have to investigate. What's it feel like? What does it feel like when people go too far with you? If you're listening to this, you might want to just stop and say, okay, let me think about these things for a little bit. When people don't know when to stop, the following things can happen and do happen. Uh, Domestic violence. Uh, People don't know how to turn their RCs on and to stop overwhelming and to find and see the relationship is more important than the issue. Domestic violence, verbal, sexual, or emotional abuse flourish. Kind of conversations produce casualties. There's hurt. People get hit. People get shot. People get killed. Cycles of control. Uh, it happens over and over on cycles. Victimization, criminal behavior worsen. It's a cycle that if we don't know how to stop or when to stop or don't care about stopping, then this is the results. Conflicts escalate because people make poor decisions and think creatively or resourcefully. I can't think creatively or resourcefully as their relational circuits are not active. So that's why it's so important for us to be able to have self-control in the sense of understanding when this is happening to us or when it's happening to someone else, and to take charge and make sure our relational circuits are on. This is what Cain did not do when he killed his brother Abel. His countenance fell. He was angry. He didn't turn his RCs on, and he ended up killing Abel. Another thing that happens when you don't stop, fear, threats, and intimidation rule. And so you're not able to be yourself. You're afraid. There's threats. There's intimidation. When people know when to stop, however, the following happens, and you can see the joy here. There's no domestic violence, verbal, sexual, or emotional abuse. Conversations don't produce casualties. The person's the relationship is more important than the problem. Criminal behavior doesn't happen. There's no reason for it. Criminal behavior is always involves, as far as I can see, overwhelm of some type of someone else, or not caring about other people, even if it's a robbery or something like that. And even if somebody broke into your house, you feel violated. Even if you weren't there, you still feel violated. Uh, and so it's an overwhelm. It's a feeling of people don't care what's going on. And so people that are doing bad things, wrong things, cause others to feel overwhelmed. Uh, if we do learn how to stop, though, people resolve conflicts creatively and resourcefully and make better decisions under stress because their brain relationship circuits are active. And it's so important. God gave us a free will, but He also, and involved in that is the ability to do what He said to Cain. You must master it, because if you don't master your feelings and emotions, it'll lead to bad things. Uh, and also, when we learn to stop, freedom flourishes. People have their own ability to make their own decisions and let God influence them. Uh, the question now for us to always consider is, do we overwhelm someone? Do we overwhelm our spouse or our children? I know I found in the past I overwhelmed my kids when I come home and that things weren't cleaned up like I thought, and I would just be talking to them about it and maybe even yelling at them. It wasn't good. I should have come home and really had my relational circuits on that the relationship was more important than the problem. And then they probably would have changed some more than just me trying to be upset. Uh, and it's important as you're in discipling groups and discipling partners here that you ask the other person, what would they say to you? Or are you overwhelming? Are you open to me pointing out things when you are overwhelming me or others? Are you open to that? And are you willing to tell me when you feel overwhelmed from me? Uh, we're learning how to love, how to have joy and give joy to other people. And a closest one that might help you is, what does your spouse, if you're married, say? Or what's your closest friend say? So that's what I wanted to share for today. There's a lot of things here, but it's so important if we're going to bring joy to people, and especially also if we're going to reach out to new people. They're not used to identifying their overwhelmed times. They're not used to uh, uh, people stopping maybe or knowing when to stop, and they don't know what's going on. They just feel like, I can't handle this anymore. Well, if we can understand what's going on and we can stop our overwhelm and train others to stop their overwhelming others, we're going to have an incredible, joyful relationships where we can discuss some of these things that perhaps are causing the, the, the issues that cause overwhelm and resolve them. So thank you very much for listening. I just appreciate all of you and the joy that you give me as well. Thank you.